Okay, so this video is a video about creating, and I suppose that all comes from isometric drawing, which comes from two-point perspective. But the idea is that, I mean, if you've got a sheep on a hill here, it's going to be much smaller than if I've got a sheep down here, which is closer to us. Yeah, and the reason for that is because it's further away, and it's to do with our eyes being, I think, circular, or having some sort of radius to them. And exactly the same sort of thing is happening with our boxes or our crates that we're producing. The idea is that as they go away in depth, the sides get smaller. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm just going to start by drawing the leading edge of a box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 points. I think those 2 points want to be about that distance and a little bit more. So I'm talking this distance here. So put that distance above and a little bit more, and then go out to the sides. Okay. This wants to be roughly about 50 millimeters in height when you're drawing. Somewhere between that, 40 to 60 millimeters. And that'll give you a nice size picture to work on. Otherwise, you'll end up, working on something like this, which is just too tiny, or working on something huge, which is, a bit ridiculous. What am I doing first? Well, what I want to do is I want to go from the top of this line and the bottom of this line to the right-hand side to this point, which we're going to call vanishing point 2. And surprise, surprise, we're going to call the other one vanishing point 1. So we've got our leading edge, we've got our vanishing points. From the top, I want to go to here, but you can see what I'm doing is I'm just practicing to make sure I'm going in the right direction before I actually move. Okay, and I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to move a piece of paper, and I'm going to move a piece. Sorry, not move a piece of paper, I'm going to do it again. So there we are. We've got effectively 2 sides of a box. Once we've done that, we can then think about proportions. If I wanted it to be square, I would be putting my other edges in here. If I want to give it other shape, I would be putting my other edges in different places, for example. A common problem or a common mistake is that you draw these at 90 degrees to here. You know that is a 90-degree angle, and therefore the lines you draw in are like this, okay? Which is wrong. That is wrong. What you want to do is make sure that your edges, which are all your verticals, are parallel to the edge of your piece of paper, okay? All right, so once you've done that, you've got the top point to that edge, and you're taking it over the vanishing point, and you're doing exactly the same here. What you can see is quite quickly we are making what they call a crate. Right. Now, of course, what I've got is I've got like a cuboid here, which is a little shallow, but equally well, I could do another one. And so let's just do one again. So I'm going to put one vanishing point about here, another one about there. I'm going to go up. This time what I could do is make it much narrower. It's getting a bit small, but you can see that as you manipulate where those different edges go, you can manipulate the shape. Okay, so that's how we create a crate. That's what's called crating. So what I would say is when you use that pencil, make sure that you begin by just drawing in really faintly. And indeed, you don't have to put the vanishing points every time. Before long, you'll find out a comfortable angle. But vanishing point's about here, isn't it? So let's just out there. So let's go over that way. And there we go. And so before long, you'll realise, yeah, the vanishing points don't need to go there. What does need to happen though is that these 2 edges are the same size. However, on the piece of paper, this one is going to be smaller than this one. Equally well, if it was a longer box, it would be smaller again. And the reason for that, of course, is what I was alluding to at the beginning. As we go away, things get smaller, because that's what perspective is all about. And so we've got to make sure that the lines are converging. If we start drawing a box and our sides are going like this, well, it's not going to be a true cuboid. Okay, and then we're thinking, oh, this often happens. That looks a lot more like it's on an angle. Okay, so make sure that your lines, you're pushing away from that leading edge, are going to be converging, and then you should be well on the way to practicing how to create. And I would personally sit down and do that for 20 minutes before you start drawing. But you can see I've done this in quite a fine line, and then afterwards I'm using a different quality of line, which is slightly darker. I would also say that when you're doing this, a very good thing to do is just give a bit of weight to where it meets the floor. It just allows it to sit a bit more nicely on that surface. Okay, so that's creating, which I think you'll find pretty useful.